Welcome to the Austin Zaback Show, where every guest is meant to leave listeners inspired and motivated, propelling them to pursue their passions and live up to their full potential.
January 1st through yesterday, it has grossed $57,000 on this property we bought for $160. So it's doing very well. I mean, we renovated it as we lived there. So, I mean, every time I got a paycheck, we really scraped by. I mean, we were just not spending money on anything. You know, almost $600 a month on this house that I've lived in for a year, and I've only got $7,500-8,000 in. I want to do this again. It's like, just because interest rates are like this right now, it doesn't mean that you shouldn't buy.
Right.
Because the moment that interest rates drop a percentage or two, I mean, you know this just as well as I do, house prices are going to skyrocket.
For sure.
You know?
Welcome back to another episode of the Austin is Zaback Show. Today, we've got a guy by the name of Matt Krueger on the show. Matt Krueger actually has a pretty interesting story. He's 20. Are you still 29 right now?
I just turned 30 a couple weeks ago.
Just turned 30,
yeah,
okay.
Yeah.
But basically retired at 29, right, through real estate investing. And I really like the way that he got into real estate investing. I think it'll be really relatable to you if you're watching. You know, he actually house hacked his way into becoming, you know, basically now a full-time real estate investor / retired, obviously. But, and which is really cool, right? I think, you know, if you're watching the podcast, the relatability factor of like what Matt has been able to do in a fairly short period of time, you know, going from a job that didn't pay well to, you know, literally just like 1 year at a time, house hacking his way. I'm excited to unpack it and share with you all how you can do the exact same thing. Matt, I appreciate you being on the show, bro.
Yeah, thanks for having me, man.
Yeah. So, dude, you know, we were chatting a little bit before the show about like the fact that you were working at Sprint, right?
Yep.
And pretty crazy. Not that long ago, I feel like. You said you worked there from like, what, 2014 to 2018, 17?
Something like that,
Somewhere in that ballpark, yeah. So, you know, from working a corporate job, right, to house hacking. I mean, you know, I want to kind of unpack that, right? Like, what is like house hacking? Like, how did you hear about it? How did you get into it? Where was your first deal? You know, talk to me a little bit about that.
Yeah, so I think like anybody else, you know, I was at this point in my life where, you know, we were newly married and fresh out of college, and you know, just trying to get by, right? And trying to figure life out. You know, frustrated that, you know, I wasn't seeing success in my own career like I wanted to at the time, and just feeling kind of, you know, stuck at a dead-end job. And I drove a lot at the time, and through driving, I loved listening to real estate stuff. We had some family that did real estate investing, and I loved the, you know, the production of that in their lives and what it enabled them to do. So that really encouraged me. It's like, well, how do I get into this? You know, I'm making $35K a year. I can't save up 20% down on a house. So what can I do differently to buy a house, to buy a rental? And I wish I knew the name of the guy, because I would totally praise him right now for it. But listening to this podcast, and this guy talks about house hacking and this idea of house hacking not just being buying a, you know, like a multifamily property, because I think that's just the assumption, right? Is that you buy a duplex and you rent out one side, or a fourplex or whatever, right? But you don't have to do that, where you can just buy a single family rental, you move into the property, you fix it up as you live there, you add equity and value to it. Then after a year, you move out, you rent it out, and you can just repeat and repeat and repeat. And that we didn't have to use an FHA loan to do this. We could use conventional financing, which allowed us to purchase properties that were a little more rundown than FHA would allow. But yeah, so I mean, we did this. We bought our first home. I was approved for like $120,000, right? So we lived in, and we still do, Des Moines, Iowa. And, you know, everybody will say, well, you can't find these properties anymore. I assure you, you can. There might be a little more, but not much. I mean, this was the definition of grandma's home, right? So this was carpet in the kitchen and like orange shade carpet in the bedrooms, wood panel walls. I mean, this thing was just butt ugly and falling apart. And we found this house. $90,000 is what this guy was offering. It had been on the market for a while. And I'm like, well, we've got, you know, like $4,000 at the time, and just saved up from scraping by. And we're like, man, we can hardly even afford like closing costs. And our realtor had the idea, well, why don't you just offer more and have the seller pay closing costs? So we actually offered $92K and had him pay closing costs. So that meant less out of pocket for us. Moved into this property.
So you got, I mean, you moved in there for like $3,000, $4,000.
Actually, it was less than that because we even got a first-time homebuyer credit.
Wow.
Like the Iowa Wild hockey team had this grant program through a bank there. I had to call like 10 different places to find something, but they are still out there. Like there's definitely still programs out there for grants and stuff. But so we got $1,000 off. It's like $2,500 is all we need to come up with out of pocket for it. So I moved in this house. We renovated it as we lived there. So, I mean, every time I got a paycheck, we really scraped by. I mean, we were just not spending money on anything. We had our first baby in that house, and it's like, hey, $500, let's buy some Kangaback carpet and lay this thing out ourselves. Did it look the best? Probably not, but we did the tile backsplash and it wasn't even LVP wasn't even a thing at the time. But did flooring and all sorts of stuff. Learned to do this as we progressed. After a year, we moved out into another home. We bought it for $130,000, same type of condition, rented out the first house, and we did it again and again and again. So,
and what did on that first property? I'm curious. You got it for like $92,000, right? How much money do you think over the course of time of living there? How long did you live there before you moved out?
We lived there just over 1 year.
Okay, got it.
We actually ended up renting that house out as well after we moved out of it. Yep. But to answer your question, we tried to like figure out exactly how much it was. Now for us at the time, it was just tons and tons of money. It was like $5,000. That's what we put into it while living there.
So you're all in for like $8,000, like to that house, right?
Yeah.
And you live there for a year, okay? And then, because I really want people to like understand like how doable what you're talking about really is.
Yeah.
Like they could go do it like right now, right?
Oh yeah, 100%.
What was your you still own that house?
So we actually sold the house a few years ago.
Okay, got it. Yep. Cool. But when you did own it, what was your mortgage payment on it? And then how much rent were you bringing in? Do you remember?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. So our mortgage payment was $640 a month, and that's escrowed. So that was, principal, interest, taxes, and insurance. That's everything. $620, $640. And when we moved out of that property, we immediately rented it out for $1,200 a month.
Wow.
And that's when I really got my first taste for cash flow. It's like, oh, this is good.
Yeah.
Like, I'm making almost $600 a month on this house that I've lived in for a year, and I've only got $7.5, $8,000 in. I want to do this again and again. So yeah, that's really what got us into it.
Dude, I love that. Yeah. I mean, in 1 year, you practically make back in cash flow the entire amount of money you put into the deal.
Exactly.
Right? Of renting it. And obviously, like you're gonna have repair or whatever that'll come up. It needs a new air conditioner or what have you. But I would imagine. I mean, how big was that property?
3-bed, 1-bath.
Yeah.
Single floor. I mean, there was like this dungeon like crawl space underneath.
What, 1,400 square feet?
It was
or
like 1,150.
1,150. Yeah. So dude, I love that, right? Yeah. And then you rent that out. You move into the next house, and that one you said was 130, 40 grand?
Yep, 130 grand.
Okay.
Yep. And I mean, same type of situation. So, I mean, it was every single house that we bought didn't really need, like super aggressive, updates like bashing down walls and stuff like that. Did we do that in a couple of the houses? Yeah. I mean, like one of the basements was completely unfinished, so I added a master suite and bathroom and stuff like that we learned as we went through. But usually it was just cosmetic stuff. A lot of the houses though that the normal families wouldn't want to buy, right? Because they're ugly. That they don't want to put in the work where it was perfect for us. So.
Yeah, walk me through the numbers of that second deal. I gotta get some more numbers.
Oh man, so we bought the house for $130. We actually own that house still. That house is now worth $225.
Wow.
And we put a back deck on that one. So that one was a little bit more, but we did a lot of the work on our own just because I couldn't afford to hire anybody. I mean, during this whole first 5-year process, my salary didn't reach anything over $50K. So, we would save and we'd, put it in there. And then, we sold that first house along the way, which helped, fund some of these other deals. But second home, in it for 3% down on 130. I think we paid closing costs on our own there. We did. Now I need to look back at some of my records, but we've done stuff where we had sellers give like a gift of equity, which helped get out of the mortgage insurance, which is a whole nother story.
But the PMI.
Yep.
Okay, got it. Yep.
Or we just waited, a year and then just called the bank and told them, hey, we've got, enough equity to get out of it now. So
they just send an appraiser out.
Yep.
Cool.
Yep. So that was nice. But, just little tricks you learn along the way. But that house now, I mean, it's grown over time, right? I want to say we've got like 10K into that house. Again, I mean, we did a lot of the work on our own, carpet, flooring, painting. That was about it. I mean, we replaced the toilet in that one. So it wasn't a ton of stuff. It was just ugly. Put a back deck on it. But that one, I mean, now it rents out for $17.95 a month.
Wow. I don't know if you know this, but the majority of the views that we get are from people that are not subscribed. So do me a huge favor and subscribe if you like the podcast so far. Smash the like button for the YouTube algorithm, and let's just go ahead and get back to the interview.
My mortgage payment is locked in at 2.65. I refinanced it back in 21. Yep. So it's 2.65 on a 30-year fixed rate conventional loan. My mortgage payment escrowed is like $820 on that. So I'm
making over $1,000. You're making
about $1,000 on that one. And that is almost the same as the third property as well. The third property we did add a bathroom to. That's the one that we did the in-suite. So I've got 20 or so into that one.
And you're making about $1,000 on that one. Cash flow.
My mortgage payment is about $840 on that one. We're renting that out for $17.95.
Wow.
So and
same numbers.
Locked in at 2.65. So
you can't beat that. Yeah.
So those first 5 houses were key. So
and then the fourth and fifth one right now, you're renting out you're making good profit on that too.
Yep.
So you're making $4 or $5 a month just from the long term, just house hacking, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yep. So I mean that in and of itself. Now at the time, like when we started with those rentals, where our mortgage payment was $800 and something, initially we're renting them out for $1,300, $1,400 bucks a month, and as the market's grown and the demand's grown, rents also increased over the last 5-6 years too. So that has helped. But that's something that people don't see as well as houses are going to appreciate.
Yeah.
And I've not only gained more cash flow because that payment stays the same. You might have some property taxes change, which will increase it a little bit, but not more than what your rent increase is going to change, and your appreciation on the properties too. So, I've got, $500,000 in equity on these properties as well. So,
anything you can depreciate them against your taxes, right? I mean, all of the benefits there we haven't even talked about, right?
Exactly. Yep.
And what I love about your story is that anybody can go do it, right? What would you have to say right now, for somebody watching and they're like, all right, Matt, like that worked in 2020 with low interest rates, right?
Yep.
Like now, I go buy a primary conventional loan, I put 3 or 5% down, whatever, do exactly what you're talking about, right?
Yep.
But instead of a 2.8% interest rate, their interest rate's 7%.
Yeah.
What would you say to that person who's gonna drop that comment down below, right?
Yep.
What would you do if you were them?
I mean, I get this a lot. Everybody's always saying, well, it's not going to work now, right? It's not going to happen because I can't get that rate. I can't buy for that price. No, you can't. But, the cash flow still there. Like the cash flow still exists. There's still properties out there with value add to them. Just to give a recent example, like my brother-in-law and sister just purchased a property. They've been wanting to get into real estate for a while. I'm trying to convert all of my family to do this, by the way, just because of the freedom it's provided us. But they bought a property that I would say is very similar to our first home. 3-bed, 1-bath, no basement, 2-car garage, so almost exactly the same in a neighborhood close by to it, actually. And they bought it for $135. And he's on a 6.5% interest rate. Yep. And hopefully he's okay with me using his example and numbers here. But he ended up putting about 12 into it. I mean, this thing, it needed everything new, but people don't understand how reasonable this stuff can be if you do it yourself.
For sure.
Contractors and stuff are going to charge a lot, and that might not be for everybody, but if you're really serious about doing this, like it's possible. So I helped him put new cabinets in. We gutted the whole kitchen. I think we were able to keep the refrigerator, but we put a dishwasher in. There wasn't one. Tile backsplash, replaced the flooring through the entire house, the bathroom, the living room, kitchen, new carpet in the bedrooms, hired that out, and then gutted the entire bathroom. I mean, this thing was like even the bathtub. It was draining into the pea gravel below it. It wasn't even draining into anything. So we took the whole bathroom, bathtub, everything out. And even dropped a central AC into this thing because it had window units for $6,000 for that. So he was in $6,000 for cabinets, bathroom, countertops, everything. So
holy cow! Yeah,
because it's not a huge home, right? $135K purchase price, $12,000 into it, and
he put down 3% on the down payment.
He ended up doing. I think he ended up doing 20% on this one, but still,
but
for
he
that,
didn't have to.
So he did not move into this one.
Okay.
Yeah. But just from a numbers perspective on this, he's renting this thing out for $15-25 a month,
right?
And I think he can get more.
So he's renting it for $1,525. He bought that particular one as an investment property, right?
Yes.
So
Yep,
he got
correct.
like what, DSCR?
He actually used a conventional loan.
Okay,
Yep.
conventional,
He got a
20% down.
20% down.
Cool.
6.5.
6.75.
I think it's 6.5.
6.5. Okay.
Yep, and he's locked in at that. So 20% down on that. But I mean, his mortgage payment escrowed is a little under $1,000 a month. It's like
So he's still making $500. He's still making $500 a month.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah.
So, you know, and I've told him as well, and I tell everybody this, it's like, just because interest rates are like this right now, it doesn't mean that you shouldn't buy.
Right.
Because the moment that interest rates drop a percentage or two, I mean, you know this just as well as I do, house prices are going to skyrocket.
For sure.
You know, because then everybody's waiting for this. It's like, don't wait, because you can always refinance later. And this is what I've told them too. It's like, because then when you do that, then you could see the $800 a month in cash flow on it too. So those deals are still out there for sure.
For sure. Yeah. You just have to be good at finding the deal. Where did he find that deal? Do you know?
Zillow.
Just right on the MLS.
Yep.
Got it. So
I've
on market with an agent.
I've actually found, I think, out of my 12 properties I have now, almost every single one I found on Zillow.
Wow.
So, I mean, we're connected with a great realtor. She finds stuff for us too. But, I mean, you know, I'm pretty aggressive when I'm searching. You know, my wife and I are searching, you know, multiple times a day. And we'll find stuff, we'll send it to her. You know, 3/4 of that stuff might be junk. She might send it back to us and tell us it's junk. We might go look at them anyway. You know, it's like you gotta be looking to find them, and Zillow was a great place for us. Yeah, marketplace too.
And I talk about that all the time, right? Having agents to send you deals.
Yep.
You know, finding a good agent, especially, right?
Exactly.
They know your criteria, they know what you're looking for. You know, and I mean, I like going directly to seller. I run a huge wholesale operation, right?
Yep.
And we wholesale anywhere from 15 to right around about 15 houses a week, give or take.
Crazy. Yeah.
And you know, at the end of the day, sure, we do a lot of stuff where we're direct to seller and whatnot. Don't get me wrong. But we also get a lot of our business from other realtors. Just realtors who just send us deals all the time, dude.
Yep.
You know?
Yep.
And I think people totally overlook that, right?
Oh, yeah.
Like
100%.
There's a big misconception out there that like if the deal's on the market, it's like not a good deal.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Yep. Oh yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
All the time. Yeah. I mean, yeah, like I said, I mean, most of our deals we found, you know, on the market, stuff that's just been sitting there for a long time. You know, I hear this all the time. Well, we're stealing houses from, you know, normal people that would want, you know, the properties. Otherwise, it's like, not really. I'm buying houses that normal families don't want. I'm buying houses that have sat there for a while. Most of the properties that we bought, we get for, you know, under asking price because they've been there for a bit, because nobody wants them. Nobody wants to put the time into them. So, you know, it's still 100% possible to find it on Zillow. Now, depends on where you look too. I mean, you know, it's a really big, you know, difference in market. You know, we are in Des Moines, Iowa, which is where we primarily invest. All of the properties that I purchased are in the Midwest. I do that for a reason, because it's easier for me to purchase them. It's a lower price. Typically, I can find better neighborhoods that are around the metro that are, you know, B plus neighborhoods, and buy these houses and turn them into rentals. Where, you know, California or something, I'd be saving for a much longer amount of time, finding different ways to get a huge lump, you know, sum of money for maybe not the same return. But yeah, the deals are 100%.
And would you recommend that for people watching? Like, you know, how many properties do you own right now, or do you own any that aren't in Des Moines, Iowa? Do you have any that are in a surrounding area, maybe not there?
Yeah. So we have some multifamily properties 2.5 hours from us.
Okay.
They are still in Iowa, but close to the edge of the state. We do still manage those on our own because they're pretty low maintenance, but we do have a team set up there as well. So I've got a maintenance guy that I can call if I need, you know, simple repairs. You know, he's fixed a toilet for me, fixed water heater, stuff like that. So it's good to have those boots on the ground, people still there, regardless of whether or not using a property manager. But yeah, I mean, I've got a fourplex and a duplex right next to each other. I mean, the cash flow made sense, which is why I bought them. I'm actually planning to 1031 exchange them now. I've got them listed for sale. So if anybody wants them,
hit you up.
DM, let me know. Yeah, I mean, there was some rent increases that needed to happen that are still below market now. But yeah, I mean, you know, it had been there for a bit, and we offered sight unseen anyway, because we heard some other investors were coming in, and we went out and loved them and went forward on them.
Yeah, so, I love that. And how long have you owned the duplex and the quad?
About a year and a half.
Okay.
Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah.
And they've already gone up in value quite a bit. And
oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So we're hoping to pull $100,000 out of the deal.
Wow.
But you know, multifamily is different than single family, where value isn't just perceived by, what other properties are selling for in the area. It's perceived by, what rents are. And stuff
net
as well.
operating income at
So
the end of the day.
we've increased rents on the 6 units, almost $1,000 total between the 6 each month. So that's helped the value significantly as well, and helped our, cash flow too.
Yeah.
So.
And would you recommend, while we're on the subject, I want to talk about Airbnb and all that in a little while,
Yep.
and the differences between, short-term, long-term rentals, everything like that. But for somebody watching, I know we've talked about getting a conventional loan, buying a single family, living in it for a year, remodeling it, renting it out, repeating, right?
Yep.
Which is a great strategy, and I love that strategy. Would you recommend also going and buying a multifamily, like a duplex, tri, or quad, living in one of the units? Because can't you do FHA if you do like that?
You can.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, what are have you, obviously, I don't think you've technically done that because you own the quad and the duplex, but you've never lived in any of the units.
Mm-mm.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think you can definitely still do it, but it's a lot more intimidating, especially for a new investor. The benefit is, you can do an FHA loan on it. You can still do a conventional as well, but I know more people can qualify for FHA. And really the biggest difference, at least in my understanding, is the quality of the property, right? So FHA loans are a little more restrictive on the, condition of the property. They won't let you purchase, something that, needs a lot of work. So where conventional is a little more lenient on that. I don't think it's a bad idea. I just think that a lot of people hear this house hacking thing, and that's the only way to do it, is put 3.5% down on a duplex or a fourplex. I see this everywhere all the time. Nobody mentions that you can do it on a single family home.
Sure.
And it's a lot harder to find duplexes and fourplexes. It's not like they're just on every street in every neighborhood like single family homes are. So, I wouldn't say don't look for them, but I would say don't only look for them, because then you're going to find yourself stuck and spinning in circles and never getting anywhere for yourself. So,
dude, if everybody, if a 20-year-old was watching right now, right, and they did, because you got to have somewhere to live.
Yep.
Right. At the end of the day, you got to live somewhere, right?
Yeah.
So if you were a 20-year-old watching, you could do what you did 10 times by the time you're 30.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
You could buy 10. Now you'd have to move 10 times, obviously. So try not to have a lot of junk, right?
Yeah.
But you could do it 10 times, and by the time you're 30, if you did it from 20 to 30, you would be 30 years old, like the age you are right now, and anybody could have 10 single-family rental properties that, the first 5 probably went way up in value by the time you get to your 10th, right?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
And, you're cash flowing, and you're pretty much, depending on on what level of lifestyle you want to live, you could theoretically be done.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
If you just live below your means.
And I left my full-time job October of last year, so I'm coming up on almost the 1-year mark of being W-2 free, which is great. But up until that point, we never lived on our cash flow, which really helped us do I call it the reverse debt snowball. Sorry, Dave Ramsey. We were able to grow that so much quicker because we just kept reinvesting. And I think, once you get past that first couple properties, I'm not saying they're going to cash flow $800 a month immediately, but even if they're cash flowing $400 or $500, that can create a 3% down payment very quickly by doing nothing other than saving, that cash flow for the down payment of the next property, and then again and again and again. So, we started using that cash flow to fund the next down payment, and then the rehab costs, and the next one, and the rehab costs. And then it grew enough where we could then plant roots where we are now and continue to purchase properties using the cash flow and start doing 20% down. And we leveraged a lot of creative financing ways like a HELOC and things like that too. But that's just, it's a great way to build, that portfolio very quickly.
Talk to me about leveraging a HELOC.
Yeah. I knew you were going to ask that question.
Yeah.
So, so we hit this point, and, I won't get into, deep details on everything for it, but, we got to this point once we were done house hacking. It's like, what's the next step, right? We found the house we wanted to live in. At that point, I didn't really see it as a long-term, you can retire right away, and leave your job and whatever, because I didn't see it as a replacement for my salary yet. So we moved to the house that we're in now. Our goal was to be out in the country. We found that a lot sooner than what we planned. Otherwise, we may have kept house hacking, but got a deal on this property, big fixer-upper, but we have quite a bit of land now, which gives us a lot of freedom, especially raising our 4 kids too. So, so we actually at this point where we just use the cash flow. In the back of my mind, it was, I'm going to increase my property value exponentially over the course of a couple years. So that way I can then pull out a home equity line of credit on my house and then use that for rentals. So that's kind of what we did. If I could go back, I would have gone different ways about this. I would have done cash out refis. I just did refis only, which was stupid of me, but that's what I did at the time.
Yep.
But where we were just kind of slow and creeping along.
But you were trying to leave the equity in the deal, though, right?
Yep. Exactly. So we increased our personal property value. We bought the home we're in now. I bought for $180K. I'll be super transparent with numbers. It was a dive, and we ended up knocking out walls, adding additions, building a 3-car garage. We did most all of the work on our own over the course of 2 years, simply using the cash flow from our properties to fund this. I ended up putting $60,000 into the house that we're in now, and then I had an appraiser come out. We found it's a bank actually that does HELOCs. That's interest only. There's no setup fees at all, so completely free to start. And they came out and they appraised the property for $375.
Wow!
So that was great. That instant equity from just putting.
You were all in 180 plus 60, so like 240, right?
Yeah,
that's a big bump.
Yeah. So that was nice, and then we had a HELOC for 140, 150.
Yeah,
and we ended up using that HELOC for down payments on 5 more properties. And we did that quickly. A couple of them are.
Okay, got it.
Yep,
cool.
Yep. And now we're doing cash out refis on those to pull back out the equity and then pay back off the HELOC.
Sure.
So I didn't need to save up my 20%. In a sense, I did while I increased the value of my home, but I did that for a reason to do this quickly later.
You're just strategically playing the game.
Yeah.
Knowing that you were going to get to that point a year down the road, 2 years down the road after. Yeah.
My end goal was like, okay, well maybe I can make this work in a way where I could potentially leave my job when I'm 45 or something. And then we found short-term rentals and realized the the massive cash flow that can be produced from those two. So I don't ever plan to have all my eggs in one basket with it. I know a lot of people do, and not that I disagree with them. I just prefer to have a variety in my portfolio. So I'll always have long-term.
And I agree with that. I don't think anybody should just have one thing in their portfolio, right? No. Because at the end of the day, if for some reason, the people stop traveling or whatever. You don't want just all Airbnbs,
No.
I think you want a combination, right? I think you want, long-term, you want short-term, you want maybe a little bit of money in the stock market. Whatever. Everybody's got their personal preference, right?
Yeah.
But at a very minimum, I think it's foolish to have everything in one particular industry or commodity or niche or whatever you want to call it, right?
Yeah.
But talk to me about the short-term rentals, and do you have them are they also in Des Moines, Iowa?
They are.
Okay.
They are. Yep.
Cool.
Yep. So our short-term rentals are in Des Moines, Iowa. When we got into these, it was one of those things, I can't remember the term that people use for it, but kind of like I was just...
Hey, really quick, I'm sure you already know, but I've done over 2,500 wholesale deals in my career, and me and my team consistently do anywhere from 1 to 2 wholesale deals a day. If you're looking to get better at wholesaling, or maybe you're brand new, you've never wholesaled a deal, I would actually love to coach you. I would love to mentor you, and I would love for you to be a part of our education program. All you have to do is go to www.flippinsimple.com, or you can find a link in the description down below and book a strategy session with my team to see if you would be a good fit for our coaching program. Again, this is our exact strategy and formula of how we are actually able to go out every single day and do anywhere from 1 to 2 wholesale deals a day. Nobody's talking about what we're doing, and I really look forward to coaching you and mentoring you. So again, go to www.flippinsimple.com. Now let's just go ahead and get back to the show.
I was thinking about doing it for a long time. Even as a quote seasoned investor, where I had purchased a good portfolio of properties, you get comfortable, and I think that's the biggest mistake for people. And this is what I tell people. It's like, it's not good to just make foolish risks and stuff. And people will say, well, it's risky to invest in rental properties in general, because what if a tenant doesn't pay rent? So like whatever you do, there's risk involved. But I would say, there's also you're not going to get that those victories without some of that risk and without some of those fails as well.
Sure.
We haven't had any major fails, thankfully, but I sat on short-term rentals for a year, and if I could look back, I would have started sooner. Because there was some...
You're just contemplating the idea.
Yeah, exactly, right?
Yeah.
So, and there I am listening to podcasts and, watching these guys on TikTok talk about, They're real estate investing and all of that stuff, and about the success of short-term rentals. I throw his name around all the time. So eventually, I actually got to meet him in person too, Michael Elefante.
Okay.
He's a big name for me, at least. I mean, maybe everybody doesn't know him, but he really encouraged me to start doing short-term rentals because he was like similar story. Started out at I think he was like Dunkin' Donuts or something, and then has 7 massive luxury properties now, and absolutely killing it. But that for me was a switch that I needed to say. It's like let's just do this. Like what's it gonna hurt? Like we did the safety thing. That's my wife. Like I'm the more like just go get him, and she's the keep me down to earth type of person. She's like, okay, well let's buy property that's close. Let's buy property that maybe we could convert into a long-term rental if we had to. We could sell everything that we buy. So like we furnished this place with like Goodwill style stuff. We bought furniture new, of course, but like went on the cheap end, and we ended up opening. So the house we bought, I bought it for $160K.
Okay.
I closed.
And this is in the city, right?
Yeah, this is smack dab downtown Des Moines,
Which
Iowa.
you think you need to have that to be? I mean, when we're talking about Airbnbs, don't you?
No,
really?
I don't.
Well, I guess there's all the Airbnbs you see now that are like out in the middle of nowhere.
Oh yeah, I mean, everybody asks me, they're like, Des Moines, Iowa, like that's not going to work, right? Because it's not a vacation destination.
Yeah.
You got to be a vacation destination, and you hear even some of these big guys talk about like vacation destinations, like really analyze your property, make sure that there's a lot of tourists going there. I disagree.
Really?
I think there's a vacation destination, and then there's what we have, which is an accommodation location. I coined that term, by the way, so that's mine.
I love that. Okay.
Accommodation location is a place where people are traveling anyway. I mean, so I'm looking and I'm seeing at the time there was like 600 or 700 short-term rentals around the entire Des Moines metro. So surrounding cities, everything, like 600-700, and there's a ton of missed opportunity downtown because there was nothing really there. Like there was some condos and stuff like that, but no like bigger single family homes to house, larger groups of people. But there's a lot of hotels, and you got hotels, you've got hospitals, there's multiple event venues. There's a college there. There's all this other stuff that draws people to this city for, any number of reasons. And we're like, let's do it. Let's take a chance. So I found it's a century-old home. It was built in like I don't even know, early 1900s. Bought this thing for $160,000.
Okay.
This was at the end of 2021. Okay, so I mean the housing boom was already going. Houses were selling all over the place. This place had sat on the market for a while. It needed a lot of cosmetic work, just very old, outdated stuff. But it had a solid foundation. So do we let guests access the basement? No, but it's a good storage place. But yeah, we ended up putting it was about 26K total into it. That was renovation costs, furnishing costs, everything. We did all of the work on our own. And we got this thing going, got it live January 1st of last year, so beginning of 2022. And ever since we've listed it, we have never had a vacant weekend. We average 65 to 70% occupancy rate. I ended up pulling in revenue-wise a little over $54,000 in revenue just last year.
Wow.
Off of this property that I purchased for $160,000.
Yeah.
So
that's insane.
Yeah.
And if you don't mind me asking, roughly, what is your net on that particular deal?
Yeah,
like
so,
when you take in all the expenses and the cleaners and the crap and the
28K.
Wow.
Netted $28K on one house last year. Yeah. And
$2,000 a month.
This was brand new. I mean,
a little over $2,000 a month.
And we're gonna see more this year. I mean, we've done a lot since we saw the success for it. We opened our second property, which is even larger and even older actually.
Yeah.
But same area, and it's pulling in significantly more as well. We've added additional amenities, so we've just updated the amenities of this first property and the furnishings. And
is
stuff
it
as well.
a true single family, or is it like a condo loft style?
It's a true single family.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. So some of these, it's like you got century-old homes that are just larger. I mean, so the second house that we bought is a 3-bedroom. There's technically 4 floors total if you include the basement, but we've got like the top floor is a game room. It's got a full bathroom. Second floor, 3 bedrooms, a full bathroom. First floor, 1 bedroom, a full bathroom, and then in the living room we've got a couple sleeper sofas that are good sleepers as well. So we sleep 14 people there. We went all out on the backyard. I put about $65K into this house in renovations and furnishings because I knew, well, the success of this first property, what can I do more? So then we look into other things. It's like, okay, nobody in the area is really offering hot tubs at larger houses. So let's throw a hot tub. So we threw a hot tub at our second house, and it's just killing it. So we just dropped a hot tub at the first house as well. Let's add game rooms. Let's go some crazy accent walls. Do this stuff that you see in Orlando or the Smokies or whatever else. But these guys just have crazy rentals. But that's because the competition is there, right? Yeah, Scottsdale.
You gotta go on your Airbnb app when we're done here. And look,
we're staying in an Airbnb.
Are you?
Yeah, we are.
There's some ridiculous Airbnbs here.
Oh yeah. So that was my mindset. It's like, okay, let's find a small city that's not a tourist location, but that people are still going to, and let's just have these killer homes that people, want to book.
Yeah.
I mean, our houses are the top, homes in the search results on Airbnb because nobody else is doing what we're doing. I mean, like occupancy rate for September in Des Moines on, just Airbnb in general for the month of September was like 35, 40%. And through September, we saw 65, 70% occupancy. So it's like, don't be,
don't skimp out.
Normal. Don't skip out on it. Like, put in the money and find those, niches that, nobody else is doing. And
when you were talking about accommodation though, a second ago, I want to, before we lose track.
Yeah.
What is the avatar of the type of person that is staying in your Airbnbs? If people aren't necessarily, or are people traveling in, is it for business? I mean, or is it staycations? I mean, what is it?
Yeah. So it depends on the time of year. Typically we see like multi-family gatherings, where you've got, different family members, brothers, sisters, whatever else, and, all getting together for whatever. So we see a lot of like family reunions. We see, different weddings, like, in town for my brother's wedding or whatever. We, like during the summer, we've got, the Sweet Corn Festival in, Iowa, right? We have the Iowa State Fair, which is I think it's the second largest in the country. So we got something going for us, but that goes 11 days. We see there's like a small college there that has a lot of sporting events, so people come in for that, track stuff, and then there's
all over the board. Yeah,
there's different event venues there too, so concerts, different stuff going on there. I mean, like this week there's a quilt show. Okay, I didn't even know about this quilt show, but we've got both houses filled up for, the next. I mean, they're both filled for the next 2 weeks straight, just with different people coming in for this show. There was a pork expo. Different home and garden shows. It's just this random stuff that brings people there. It's not for vacations. It's for accommodations for whatever else they're going to. So
talk to me. So are you managing the Airbnbs yourself, or did you hire a manager?
So we manage the properties on our own. We've really simplified it though with our software stack. I use Hospitable, so I'm gonna give them the shout out. Hospitable has been fantastic for us.
And what all do they do?
It's like it's called a PMS system, so property management software, right? I would say the top three things that we utilize them for is total calendar synchronization. So this is where Airbnb, VRBO, Booking.com, and a direct booking website that we have, all of our calendars are merged into one. So if you're looking at Airbnb on our calendar to book, you're going to see the exact same calendar on Booking.com or VRBO or whatever else. So that way it doesn't get double booked. So it's all synced into one calendar. So every time there's a booking on one, it blocks it on the other. So that's fantastic. The other one would be guest communication. So people seem to think that the automated guest messaging on Airbnb is enough. It is definitely not enough once you realize what some of these systems can do. I mean, we have a stack of like 7 different messages that go to guests, but there's even stuff through Hospitable that allows guests to receive automated responses based on the questions that they're asking, or I can go and I can click this magic wand. There's like a chat GPT integration now to it. So it knows my listing. It knows when the guest is coming. It knows what amenities I offer because it's synced up to everything. So it gives them responses for that. So that's great. And then we also use it for cleaning calendars, cleaning schedules. Yep. So all of our cleaners are integrated to it. So whenever a new cleaning comes in, they can automatically get assigned to that cleaning. So I don't have to do anything. And then they'll receive notification via text message, via email, and then even the week of, they'll get emails up to it as well. So that way nothing is missed there. So it really takes our hands off of a lot of it. So that's been great. I use Price Labs. If you're not using dynamic pricing and you own short-term rentals, you are way underpaying yourself and you're underbooking yourself, honestly, because it's not just about getting the most bang for your buck. It's about, I mean, it is, right? But it's about, getting your occupancy up too, because like Price Labs refreshes our prices every 24 hours. So they know, what competition is charging in the area and, what, customer demand is on specific dates. And then they auto adjust our prices every 24 hours to accommodate for that. So I think that really helps our occupancy as well, and it helps our bottom dollar. I mean, I used to charge on the first house when we opened it up. I did our own pricing. That was a mistake. $180 a night. It's like, okay, this is what other people are charging. I think maybe sort of from what I found. Let's do that. And then we're like, okay, well, Price Labs has a free month. Let's just try these guys out. So I throw it on there, and I'm like, you can put caps on it or whatever, but I didn't. I'm like, we'll just let them charge whatever they want. Dude, I started getting bookings for like $350 to $400 a night.
Holy cow.
On certain nights, and it's just like, what the heck? I mean, from what I figure, I missed a couple grand in the first couple of months just because I was doing my own thing. So
wow, and because I mean, it probably takes everything into consideration. It knows, okay, there's a big event in town. Everybody else is raising their prices. We got to raise ours.
Exactly. And I'll go and I'll make little tweaks here and there. Like we have seasonal rate adjustments. During these months. Our minimum price is this, and our average price that we want it to be is this, and it gives recommendations for what you should do too. But that helps a lot, for me. Or like I can even see like it'll show different colors and different dates. This demand is higher here, and I can know like, okay, well maybe I need to like make it a 2-night minimum here, so I don't get just a 1-night stay since these this weekend is super high demand. I can get more for that too, and leave it for longer stays as well.
Sure, yeah. And what was the hardest? Like, what's something that doing the Airbnbs that you didn't expect to be a challenge that turned out to be a challenge?
Oh man, that's a good question. The urgency in repairs is different. Now, I want to tread carefully on this because it's not that in a long-term rental there isn't still an urgency, because there is. Like if an AC goes down or a furnace or water heater or whatever else, we definitely work to get it fixed. But there's a difference with like amenities and stuff that you're offering too. Like we have hot tubs, right? And I mean, hot tub is the #1 searched amenity on Airbnb. And I know that at least 90% of the people that are booking my property are booking it because of the hot tub. I have literally had people have 2 people stay in this house that sleeps 14, and they're like, we just wanted a hot tub.
Wow.
It's like, okay, so they pay $1,000 for 3 nights to get a hot tub, which is great. But if that hot tub stops working, I've got to get this thing repaired immediately. So, there's definitely more of a challenge with that, with knowing that I'm going to be offering more refunds for things and working with people. I mean, I had Friday, so I had a 4-night stay at my larger property. And on Friday, I think it was Thursday night, these guests checked in. And Friday morning, I get a message with a picture. It's like, oh no. So this is like early Friday morning. And he's like, hey, and he was super understanding. Not a huge deal, but just want to let you know, the shower on the 2nd level is just like the handle, there's just water spraying out of it into the tub. Thankfully into the tub, not into the wall. Right. But like the valve on the handle had broken. And I mean, we're busy. We're like getting ready to come out here and have vacation, meet you, which I've been excited about. So this is great. But I don't want to have anything to do with this. And this is over my head as far as plumbing stuff goes too. So it's like in a long-term rental, I'd have them go shut off the water main. I'd maybe work longer to find the best price, not pay a rush fee with companies as well. I paid an emergency rush fee. I got the first person that would take my call to go out there. And it's like, I need this fixed now because, I'm losing water. I can't have my Airbnb guests go down into this, dungeon basement and in this, century-old home to turn off the water. And then they're without water in the house. It's like, I can't have that. So, I mean, I had somebody out there within 2 hours, and I paid $1,100 for this one repair, which I put a new handle on. They had to break through the drywall on the back of it to get into this thing. But, there's more expense, there's more urgency. It's definitely more challenging because you want to, it's not, I'm not going to say just a tenant where, they're living there though for years. Is somebody, they're there for 4 nights. I'm not going to let this ruin their vacation. I'm not going to give them a bad experience. And he still gave me a 5-star review. He really appreciated that we went above and beyond and had it fixed in 3 hours for him. So, I love that. It's harder working with guests than it is working with tenants. But, you treat people right. I've comped like gift cards and stuff. I've comped nights. We've had like power get shut off at properties before, and, where you could work with a long-term tenant a little bit more leniency. You got to go above and beyond. So it's challenging. Yeah,
because you do got to get the good review too. You can't get a bunch of bad reviews, right? Yeah. Like I would imagine, are you a super host yet?
Oh yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So
and
you got to, what do you have to maintain? 4.9?
I think you have to maintain a 4.8.
Okay.
Is what it is right now. I think it's a 4.8 or 4.85. And then you have to have, it's like 100 nights booked a year or something like that. I don't know. I need to look back through this. We've been a super host. I've never had a challenge year. Response rate needs to be at a certain level as well, so you can't just leave guests hanging and not respond to them. But yeah, I mean, we're a 4.98. We've you can't please everybody. We've had a couple things where we just got a 4-star and couldn't figure out why. But we do the best we can to learn from those and grow from them. But yeah, so we do well. So yep.
Are you gonna buy more Airbnb?
Heck yeah.
Heck yeah.
Man. So,
all in Des Moines.
No. I hope to do a couple more in Des Moines, but then I want to diversify. We love to travel. I don't mind renting, and that's what we're doing over here. But I'd love to own a few places that I can call my own around the country too. So looking at Colorado, we spend our winters on South Padre Island in Texas. So if you're there, whoever's listening, we're going to be there all January and February. So I'm sure you'll find me on the beach. But we owned a condo on South Padre Island for 28 days. In March of last year, we ended up flipping it. We were going to keep it as a short-term rental, but financing kind of changed, and we sold it. We made $103,000 off the flip, so that was great. But I hope to own down there again someday because we really love it there. But the time just was not right for us. So, but, yeah.
What about property management when you do that? Like obviously in Des Moines, you're managing your own property, right? But when you start getting into, Colorado or wherever, I mean, do you plan on just hiring a property manager?
Yeah, so if it's a short-term rental, no. A long-term rental, I don't know if I would do a long-term rental in another state just because of my personal opinion with where I live. It's easy enough to do that where I am. But, I mean, with Airbnb in general, it's easy enough, especially with our software. We spend 2 to 3 hours per week managing these, where I'm going in, tweaking prices with price labs and just making sure that messages are going out and maybe responding to a message from a guest here and there. But I found that it's very simple. The two key elements to a successful Airbnb business is not your property manager. In my opinion, it is your cleaner. That is the number one, like this could be detrimental to your Airbnb experience. If you do not have a solid cleaner, you're going to lose. We've had some not solid cleaners and we've had great ones. But also having a handyman, somebody that can fix things that the cleaner finds. So you want to make sure you get a good cleaner, somebody that communicates with you. I mean, we've had stuff where we're gone in another state and there's vomit in the hot tub, right? And a normal cleaner may or may not do something about it. She was more than willing to work with us. I mean, we're in Des Moines, Iowa. There's no hot tub servicing companies out there unless you buy from a specific place. They might go service it for you, but they're not going to check the chemicals for you. There's really nobody out there that does that, which is why not a lot of other people offer it. But she went above and beyond and cleaned it all out for us, and she's on the phone with us walking through the house and where do I get this, and do you guys have this and whatever else. If we've had even something as simple as a broken toilet paper fixture on the wall, right? That creates the foul guest experience when you go into a bathroom and here's your toilet paper just hanging off the wall.
Right.
But your cleaner should notice these things, and we have good cleaners that do. So they'll tell us hey, this is broken, or hey, your pillow is a little stained, or the sheet's a little yellow, or what do you want me to do this? And just the communication's there. So I don't need a property manager.
And a lot of times you can just have them fix it or buy a new one. If she's get the pillow stained.
So I've got a small toolbox downstairs, and and we'll pay her extra for stuff like this. If she does this stuff, she's I keep, especially this one cleaner that we've had for a long time, I just keep her very well informed with our business, and I tell her this is what we're planning to do and grow. So she's not just seeing it as somebody that she's working for, she sees it as somebody that she's working with, which is super important, because I want to see her grow in this business and become a full-time thing for her eventually too. So so she sees the importance of that, and she'll help us do these things too. So and she even offers her husband is handy as well. So if we ever need him to go, she saw the plumbing repair today, and she's messaging me. She's like, just let me know. My husband will do this stuff.
Yeah.
And it's just it's great.
You're have that person. I needed a guy over there in a half an hour.
That's the person you need to have. So in Colorado, if I can get that, then I don't need a PM.
Yep.
So yep.
Talk to me about your TikTok and stuff. So I know you've been making content, right? And you got 120K, I think, on TikTok.
Close to that. I think 115ish or so. But
Are you just on TikTok, or do you do Instagram, YouTube, anything like that?
Nowhere near you on Instagram. I started Instagram 3 months ago, though. I actually started TikTok on a bet with my brother-in-law. Okay, so this was about a year year and a half ago is when I actually opened the account with no drive on it at all. But it was I had seen, I mean, honestly, I've seen like guys like you. So, you, Ryan Pineda, even Michael Alfonte, stuff like this, where, you guys have learned to create businesses out of this, and that everybody's on social media right now. And, you can really monetize this, and you can share your brand and, share your knowledge as well, which is great, which people want that. I wanted that when I was learning, right? So I talked to him, and he's like, you can't monetize social media. I'm like, I'm going to try.
Yeah,
so I got on, and, TikTok, you can get, some sort of compensation after 10K followers. And I was there in a few months or so, but then I didn't really start making content until I quit my job in October of last year, and got more serious about it. And really, I've just shared our story, showing videos of the projects we're working on, doing it as a family, being there, just being in raw and real with people. And that's grown it a lot. So, and I mean, just in transparency with you, I mean, I made more on TikTok from just views, and I do some paid promotions every once in a while with companies that align with, what my goals are. Yeah. I made more through that than I did with my full-time job with Google that I quit last October.
Insane.
So, in a month.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's crazy what you can do. I mean, I'm sure you're fully aware of of the business opportunities.
I am.
Yeah. If you're not on TikTok, you need to be. So.
Yeah, you got to get on every platform
and be consistent.
Eventually,
Consistency is key. Yep.
Yeah, we're on every platform, dude, and I got to get better at TikTok. I actually am not that good on TikTok, I don't feel like. But IG, YouTube, we're getting pretty good there, and TikTok's a little bit interesting nowadays.
Yeah, it's definitely different. They are shooting more towards like longer form stuff now, where like I'm on a program where you get paid for only videos that are over a minute in length. So that's nice. But yeah, I mean, Instagram has been fantastic. I'd say like TikTok is more for the younger generation. Instagram is more like for the age group that you and I are in. But I'm trying to grow on both. So Instagram has been a few months, so that's pretty small right now. But but we're working on it. So.
I'll have to look into the program where they do the minute or longer. I don't think I'm on that one.
Yep, the creativity program beta. Okay. So they reached out to me about it. I don't know if there's a way to apply, but it's been.
I'm in one
great,
of the programs that I get paid.
Yeah.
And I get paid a decent amount, but I don't know that it's as much as you get paid on TikTok.
I want to say last month I had 5 or 6 million views on videos, and I got paid like $2,700.
Not bad,
just from views only. Yeah. So, I mean, this is posting a video a day. That's typically what I try to do.
Yep.
So.
Hey, real quick, I don't know if you know, but I have a totally separate YouTube channel that you probably haven't checked out before. And it's just called Austin Zaback. And I've actually started a new series on that channel where I break down wholesale deals, okay? Wholesale deals that we've done in our business. And I show you step by step how we got the deal, how we sold the deal. I break down all the numbers on the deal, and I even show you the HUD of the deal, so you know we're not playing around. Now, I don't know how long you've been following me, but I do anywhere from 1 to 2 wholesale deals every single day. And my goal is to get to 100 deal breakdowns on that YouTube channel. So definitely, if you haven't already, go check it out. I'll link it down in the description below. And without further ado, let's just go ahead and get back to the show.
Are your videos just talking head? I'll have to go watch more of your content. Like it's just you and the camera?
No, not really. I do a lot of variety. So I'll do some where it's just talking to the camera. But I do, and in those I'll spend more time on, do the little flashy editing and stuff. But then like some of those videos I see, those only get like a few thousand views. And then I'll put some random stuff on, just some words on the screen talking through, numbers. People love numbers. And I'll spend like 20 minutes making this video, and it'll get millions of views.
Wow.
So, I mean, it's just, I don't know, the TikTok algorithm is messed up. But
I'll have to go.
It's fine. So.
I'll have to go watch all that. Yeah. I got to get better at TikTok, dude. I do not put any focus on TikTok really at all, you know. So what's the grand plan now? I mean, now, you want to buy more Airbnbs, buy more long-term rentals, obviously just continue to scale. Where do you want to be in 3, 4, 5 years? Somebody
actually just asked me this question a few days ago. And my answer, I actually didn't have a direct answer at the time because nobody's asked me that in a while. I would say, and my answer to them is the same as this, is like, if I can be exactly where I am 5 years from now, I'll be happy. My goal was never about making millions of dollars a year. My goal was never about driving a Ferrari or living in some luxury mansion. Like I never, it's like those are things that like, that'd be nice. I'd enjoy doing that. Dude, I drive like a 2011 Honda Pilot right now with 165,000 miles. It's not because I can't afford to go out and, and get something else is because I just choose to utilize my money differently. But at the time that like this became more of a reality, which was the beginning of last year, when Airbnb and stuff were like really started shooting off more. And for us, it was just to replace my salary. I was working at Google as an account manager. My salary was $68K. And I wanted to replace that. And we did that very quickly and doubled it and tripled it. And, now I'm making 10 times what I was making 8 years ago as a sprint rep, which was crazy to me. But like, I don't care so much about the money as I do about the financial independence. And I know this financial freedom word is different for everybody, but for me, it's just having my time back. My goal isn't necessarily to create another business for myself. If I can inspire other people and help other people to do that, I love it. But like I've got, 4 kids that are 7 and under, and I want to be there for them. So I want to be the dad that's there. My dad used to travel a lot. I love him. I'm best friends with him right now, but like, I don't remember him a lot as a kid because he was gone all the time. And now I spend 2 to 3 hours a week managing my business. Heck, last Sunday, my wife and I got home we were looking at one of our Airbnbs doing something, and we get home. It's like 3 o'clock in the afternoon, Sunday of last week. And she's like, man, I want to go somewhere. Okay, let's go to Omaha. Yeah. Like Omaha's like 3 hours or 2.5 hours from us. Yeah. So we literally just packed up the car. We're on the road 2 hours later. I book a hotel as we're driving, just this little water park place. And we go to the zoo, the Omaha Zoo, which is great. If you live in the Midwest, go there. There's a children's museum out there. And we came home Tuesday night. And I didn't have to reach out to a boss. I didn't have to, ask anybody for PTO or, make sure that I was, getting off these calls or whatever. It's like I just went and just did life with my kids, and for them, that is what they need, is they need daddy there. And that was super important for me. So if I can be the same where I am 5 years from now, if I'm making more money, so be it. But I don't want to get stale and not do houses, because we enjoy it too, and we love working on houses as a family. But if I can be here in 5 years, that's where I want to be.
Sure. Yeah, dude. And I totally agree, man. I've had a lot of people on the show, I think the number one commonality that I see most successful, financially successful people make, right, is that they grind, and they end up sacrificing family and all of that. And then they eventually get to like a tipping point where obviously they kind of have like the wake up call, right? And they're like, oh, dude, I want to change, right? And then they do, but now they've got to kind of go down a different path. And then, and you see it with almost everybody that I talk to, right? And at one point they like lost it all and blah, 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 So I think the ideal way to get to the end result is to just start in the beginning with the good habit of,
I always like to say, remember your why. At the beginning, it's like, what's your why behind it? I mean, if your why is to work 60 hours a week running your own business in the future, then, I guess that's fine. But like, for me, it was replacing my salary, having my time back on my terms. And then we just grew to that point. If there's, unless that's what you want, I guess, is to, hey, I've left the 9 to 5, I'm financially free, but I'm tied to this business that I have to work 50, 60 hours a week now. It's like, I mean, to each their own, but like that just wasn't for me.
For sure.
Yeah.
Everybody's got their own gig. What are your thoughts about, and have you thought about subject toing and then doing Airbnb? Have you thought at all about that? So buying a property subject to.
Yep. They're really hard to find. You mean like purchasing somebody else's property doing subject to?
Yep. So purchasing a property with subject to. So you're acquiring their mortgage.
Yep.
Right.
Yep. And their interest rate.
And their interest rate and everything. And then Airbnb-ing that.
Yeah. So if you can find the deal. Yeah. Heck yeah. I actually just had my first like taste of this, and it ended up not even working out, because most conventional loans do not allow subject to, unless there's like certain stipulations in it. You can't do it. So it has to be like a USDA, FHA, commercial, I think, and it has to actually be written into it as well for you to be able to do a subject to.
Well, most loans are not assumable, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
So,
but people assume them all the time.
Yeah. So you have
to
learn
be careful.
ways. I'm not an expert in that. I have not done that yet myself. I've kind of tasted it a little bit and seen what's possible with it. But yeah, I mean, if I can find a property, if it's the right deal, I mean, just because it's subject to or assumable does not mean it's going to be a great deal. I mean,
No.
the person you're buying from could have purchased this house way over, market value, even though they have a 3.5% interest rate. It's not worth it if you're paying, $30,000 more for the home than it's worth. So,
Sure, yeah.
But if you can find the property, 100%, yeah. We are utilizing DSCR now, because I don't have a job. It's a lot harder to do.
DSCR with Airbnb or long term or both?
So we're doing a DSCR cash out refinance on an Airbnb right now, that I used HELOC money to furnish and renovate.
Okay.
This property we purchased, this is our second Airbnb. We bought this a little over a year ago, for $160K again. Both houses are the same price. And we ended up putting, what was this? 50K into, 45K into, something like that. But for furnishings, everything, renovations, landscaping, we did a lot of crazy stuff there. But we bought it on a conventional loan.
Okay.
That's actually the last house that I purchased year to date. We kind of took a break to just not buy houses for a little bit, because that's all we were focused on for a long time. But I bought that on a 30-year fixed rate conventional on a 5.5 is what it's at. It's a lot harder, by the way. This is kind of a deviant from this question, but it's a lot harder because the more conventional loans you have, the more reserves you need to have as well, which people
And they eventually
don't
cap you at
understand.
10, right?
They do cap you at 10. The trick around this that I learned, though, is that so basically, for people that don't understand, every new conventional loan that you have to have reserves, 6 month worth of reserves for every single property that you purchase. So if you have 9 conventional loans, this is what I have right now, you have to have 6 months worth of mortgage payments saved up for every single property.
So let's do some math, just for the sake of numbers. So let's say each mortgage was $2,000 a month.
Yep.
Right? Times, what is that? 6, so 18, or no, 12.
Yep.
12 times 10, would you say 9?
Yeah. Then
I don't know what 12 times 9 is. 12 times 10 is 120.
I had to have, what was it, like $98,000 worth of reserves, on my last purchase. That's what I had to literally have sitting there available to me. What a lot of people don't understand is that a HELOC counts as reserves.
Really?
It does. So if you have a HELOC, regardless of whether or not you want to use this HELOC to purchase properties, get a HELOC, because
Just the
it
HELOC
does
sitting there.
nothing against you, but it's accessible funds to you.
Wow.
And it counts as reserve money. So
I didn't know
I
that.
had $150,000 in a HELOC just sitting there, and we were using $35,000 for the down payment, but I still had enough there for my reserves. So I had to save no money. It was just HELOC money that got us approved for that property.
Yeah, but that doesn't. So that is a huge benefit in terms of just having the reserves, right? But they still cap you at 10, though, right? No matter what.
Correct. Well, yes, there's ways around the system
Okay.
if you're purchasing under different spouses or something.
Yep.
But we were.
But maybe you get to 20.
Yeah.
At some point, you're
maybe.
capped, right?
Yeah.
Is the point, and then you have to go DSCR.
Yeah, or commercial. Yeah, you need to
Okay.
be a really special individual to be able to figure out a way to get 20 between you and your spouse. But I know some people that do it. That just
You
like
could-
purchase and
yeah.
then do a quick claim or whatever, transfer over to somebody else and try to do that. It's
What about
it's
just then going
hard,
back
though.
and doing a portfolio loan on
Yeah.
once you get to that point? Just wrapping all of them into one mortgage.
Yeah, I don't know what the lender sees that as. If they see, well, you bought it under your name and it's still tied to you, unless you have a way to enter it into a trust or something, maybe. Like we have ours on an LLC. I purchased them all under my name, quit claim them into the LLCs. So my name is still tied to them. So I don't know how that would work specifically.
Yeah.
But to answer your question on the DSCR loan, so since I left my job, I actually quit my job. I called my boss and quit my job in the parking lot of the office that we closed at
Wow.
my last property, because I had to have proof of income, or so they can call me or call my employer up to 3 days before closing. So I kept that job and I called them in the parking lot after we closed.
Wow.
I don't recommend that for everybody, but it worked. It worked
Yeah.
for us. So that was signing papers and stuff, closed on it and called. But I don't have the W-2 income to support a conventional loan anymore. So DSCR was the best option for us, which I think this is a little bit newer too, because it hasn't been around for forever. Most investors will do commercial loans, which is like a 20-year, not a fixed rate, where, sometimes you can get it fixed, but it's much higher. But DSCR loan is debt service coverage ratio loan. Basically, it works off of two aspects: the appraisal of the property compared to like other properties in the area, just like you would on a standard appraisal. Is
Yep.
these properties are similar, they've sold for this amount, but it also goes with the rents in the market as well. So
And
it's
there's a
looking
ratio
that
they want to see.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I'll give numbers specifically on our property. We bought this property for 160 last October. Yeah, last October. And we've put, I mean, realistically, we've got like $25K into it for renovations because they're not counting furnishings as property value. And we've held on to this property, ran it as a short-term rental for almost a year. It actually went live January 1st of this year. So far from January 1st through, this is a random number, but January 1st through yesterday, it has grossed $57,000 on this property we bought for 160. So it's doing very well. But we wanted to be able to pull back out the HELOC money to pay back down the HELOC, maybe use that for down payment on other properties. So contacted a company that does DSCR loans. A lot of these DSCR companies actually do short-term rentals too, which they do.
And how not to interrupt you, because I think people would get confused. How are they determining the coverage ratio on a Airbnb? Because when is it just a prediction, right? I mean,
I think it's just a prediction, yeah. Because even though I gave them my specific numbers, they still have to go off some sort of market rent number as well, which we've been going back and forth on exactly.
What's the ratio that they wanted from you? Do you know the ratio?
I'm not 100% sure.
Because I've done a couple DSCR, and I think they want like a 1.1 ratio or 1.2 ratio, meaning your rent has to be 1.2 times higher than your total PITI. Or whatever your gross income would be, I guess. In that case, it would be short-term income.
So they go through a lot of steps. Like I said, I'm newer to this. This is my first one that I'm doing, but so they send an appraiser out to the house, which I did have to pay for. It was like $600 or something, but the house appraised for $300,000. And this is just owning it for 1 year. And based off of rents and comps in the market and everything. I mean, this house sat on the market for a while. We got it for $5K under asking price. So people that are saying, well, we're taking all the houses away. It's like anybody could have bought this property. We were just the ones to do it. It smelled like cat pee when we bought it, and dogs, and there was sags in the floor from animals and all sorts of junk. But I mean, we made it nice, and it's like this isn't counting for my labor hours, but that's not a lot of money in there for an appraisal of $300K. So numbers coming back at, we're getting approved for, since it's a refi, 70%
LTV.
Yep. So 210K is the total loan. After the loan payoff, we're getting about $80,000.
Which is crazy.
So 80 grand.
Cash.
And our mortgage, I want to say, it's going up to, it's 8%. We're going back and forth. It's either 8% or 8.125. So it's going to switch from a 5.5 to that. So
you're going to go
interest
up in
rate is
rate.
going up.
But you're getting the cash.
Exactly. And my total mortgage payment in all is going up like $850 a month. So I'm paying $850 a month to get $80,000.
For sure.
And I can use that $80,000 to get an entirely another Airbnb that'll cash flow me way more than what I need to pay for that as well. And then I'll do it again and again and again and just keep repeating. So
well, you're still cash flowing a lot of money, even with the 800 increase.
Exactly. Yep.
I mean, you made 57K gross. Obviously, it's not net, but still, it's a lot of money.
Yeah, I mean, our monthly expenses on that property are like $2,300 a month.
Right.
So it's super good cash flow.
You gotta love the Airbnb game, dude.
Yep.
I think Airbnb can be difficult in a market. I actually think it's more difficult to Airbnb right now, probably, and be successful in a market like where we're at right now. Versus like a market like where you're at because of the oversaturation, right? Now, I think it's still doable. I've got a lot of buddies that are big Airbnb guys. But to your point, you've got to take it to a whole nother level nowadays. If you want to make a lot of money, right? Because there's a lot of average Airbnbs in a market like mine. And if you want to really make it, you got to have like minimum 5-bed. You got to have a pool. You have to freaking deck out. I mean, you got to have wallpaper and like the accent walls, and I mean, you really have to theme it out, right?
Yeah, you got to check every single box.
Every
on
box.
Airbnb amenities.
It's got to be IG worthy.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, I would say, find a market that is. I don't really think that there's such a thing as oversaturation. I just think that there's, properties that are just higher performing and stuff.
Yeah,
that
you
people are
have
just, like,
to
throw into these average properties.
You've got to
thinking about
separate
cash flow.
yourself.
But
yeah,
find something that works for you. So, just because we're in, small town Iowa doesn't mean that that's going to work for everybody. And I know a lot of, short-term rental buddies that wouldn't invest in Des Moines simply because, it's not enough cash flow for them, because they don't want to have, more properties to get to this number where they're out investing in the Smokies, buying these, $1 million mansions, where their cash flow is more like $6,000 to $8,000 a month. They're spending 4 times on the house. They're getting, 3 times the return or whatever, but it's less of a headache for them to work through. I personally would prefer to have a little bit larger portfolio to diversify, stuff, just in case I have issues with one over the other and not completely out. But again, to each their own. So
teach your own. Yeah.
Yep.
I love it, man. I think you got to get to like, it'd be really cool. I think I have a buddy that owns 300 single families.
Wow.
And he's like, his whole portfolio, dude, is like, I think he has 30% debt on all of it.
Wow. That's really good.
Yeah. And I mean, like a third of it's completely paid off in full. Yeah. He owns them all in Arizona, and I talk to a lot of big guys that get into like big multifamily too.
Yep.
And again, like to each their own, right? I think the thing about real estate investing is you could really do one of about 1,000 different things, and you could make it in any one area, right?
Yep.
You have to kind of pick a lane, though. Would you recommend, like, hey, pick a lane, travel down your lane, don't deviate too much? Like your lane really is just, okay, house hacking in the beginning, single family, cookie cutter, black and white, right?
Yep.
And or Airbnb, cookie cutter, black. You're not trying to like do a bunch of random crap.
Yeah. I think, that's what really stalls people out too, is they just like, you can get overwhelmed by everything. We have 12 properties right now. Only 2 of them are short-term rentals. It took a while for us to really get to this point to jump into something else, because we wanted to get good at one thing before we moved on to the next. And then also, I was uncomfortable with it. It was nerve-wracking for me because I didn't know what it would do. I didn't want to put all this furniture into there and then see it, not get booked. But yeah, I would say, definitely, choose one thing. Choose one thing that you want to do. Everybody wants to do short-term rentals right now. I don't think that's right for everybody. My personal opinion, even though my focus is on short-term rentals right now, is that somebody needs to get their toes wet with a long-term tenant. They need to understand what renting a property out looks like, signing a lease, getting into that, and then maybe, going on to these other things. So like take the little train ride at the amusement park before you get on the roller coaster. Because Airbnbs are a whole nother ballgame that would just require so much more attention and not experience necessarily. You experience things as you go, but they're harder. So, I know people that have been successful doing Airbnb first, but...
Hey, real quick, I don't know if you know, but I actually wholesale real estate nationwide, and I have buyers all over the nation looking for incredible deals. So if you're a wholesaler and you locked up a deal and you're struggling to find a buyer, I would love to partner with you up on it, and I would love to help you sell it. All you have to do is text me 480-418-5339 and just let me know that you have a deal that you need help selling. Again, the phone number is 480-418-5339. Let me know that you have a deal, you want me to bring a buyer. Somebody on my team will reach out to you right away, and we will help you get it sold. Now, let's just go ahead and get back to the show.
Personally, I'd start with a single family long term and go from there. So
I love that, dude.
Yep.
You've dropped a lot of value, man. I'll do a couple more questions and then we'll wrap up here. But what do you, obviously you're not working a ton. What is your long-term goal in terms of, including your family into everything, right? You see people who do it one of two ways, right? Either number one, they're like we talked about a little while ago, they're neglecting their family, yada, yada, yada.
Yep.
And then you kind of see the people who are kind of almost including their family. Like, did you bring your whole family here when you came, or did you leave the kids at home?
So, I sound terrible saying this right now, but so we, 4 kids that are 7 and under. I've got a 2-year-old son, 7-year-old daughter, 5-year-old daughter, and 2-month-old son. I won't get into all my personal stuff, but like my wife and I had a really rough experience with our newborn. He was in the NICU for 3 weeks right after birth. We had 2 good days at home, and then just 3 terrible weeks where we thought we were going to lose him. So everything's great now, praise the Lord. But we needed a break together. Yeah. So other kids are with grandparents, but typically like everything that we do as a family.
Yeah.
That was one of the first things we established when we started doing this, is that we were not going to do this if it was just me going to a property and working on it and her staying home and taking care of the kids or whatever else. It was, we're going to make this work together. And man, it's hard. Like, it's not easy. None of this is easy. But I mean, like, you know, we find a room and throw a pack and play up in it, you know, and that's where the baby takes its naps, is we're, you know, out doing demolition stuff or painting or whatever else in other rooms. And, you know, on our most recent house, like, my 2-year-old got into paint and got on the carpet and found crayons and was coloring on the wall. You know, it's hard stuff, but like, we made the conscious decision at the beginning that we wanted to do this together, when we're not going to do it at all. So, you know, that's everybody's personal choice, but, you know, we've done it as a family, and because that was our end goal, was to have more time as a family. So I wasn't going to take that time away getting to this point. So
yeah, I think you're doing it a great way. I actually really admire that way. You know, I work with my fiance. I think you met her, actually.
Congratulations, by the way. That was an epic announcement. I saw some photos. I had to check out your Instagram and see what was going on there. So yeah, that's great.
I appreciate that, dude. Yeah. And we work together, man. You know, she's like kind of the creative director right now. She's playing that role, you know, and as time goes along, her role will change, you know, but I do know one thing for sure. We'll always like build the thing that we're building together, right? Like I told her that early on, dude. I said like, hey, I don't want to get to a point. I mean, dude, I think it was our second date, right? I was like, I don't want a relationship with somebody one day where like we're in two totally different industries. And we come home 5, 6, 7 o'clock at night. We kind of like catch each other up on the day, right? And like, I didn't want that, you know. I wanted to not have to catch the other person up because we're already in the know. Yeah. Right.
Yeah. That's what marriage is about, right?
Yeah.
Is, you know, you're a partnership. It's not a, you know, joint living together. You know, you gotta make it work. Man, I remember like working through some of these houses, especially in this house hacking time, where we're literally living in construction. Like, you know, let's just tape off this area, put these random gates here so the kids don't get into this section, or, you know, I'm working 40, 50 hours a week coming home, and this quote I think, you know, in your questionnaire you sent me, you asked, you know, what your favorite quote is. And I repeat this all the time, but like, I don't even know who said it, honestly. Whoever said it, I'm sorry that I'm not acknowledging you, but use your weekends and evenings to build the life you want, not escape the life you have. And that's what we did. I went to work, I came home, and then we worked together. So, I mean, there was evenings like we're doing a tile backsplash or shower or something. This happened multiple times, so I did not learn from my mistakes. But like, I mixed up too much mortar. And my wife's just like, we're not letting that go to waste. We're going to be working on it till we're out. So like, the kids are sleeping and I'm trying to cut, you know, tile outside in the garage to be quiet, and you know, doing a tile backsplash at, you know, 11 or 12 at night, you know, in the winter, because that's what we had to do.
For
we had a goal, we had a vision together, and we did this together. So
super cool though, you know, and ultimately in a span of a pretty short period of time, like here you are, you know, and obviously you're nowhere close to your goals, but you're financially free. Technically, you could do whatever you want, right? And heck of an accomplishment, and you know, and it goes to show anybody watching or listening, in less than a decade, right? Like
8 years, 8 years,
literally. And everybody I talked to, by the way, has achieved the bulk of their success in a span of less than a decade, right? Which is really to say that anybody watching or listening, it's like, hey, anything you put your mind to, if you do it for 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 years, you could basically achieve whatever outcome you're trying to achieve.
100%. Yeah. I mean, I know people that have done it faster. So it's just, it depends on what those goals are. You know, don't just, like the one piece of advice I have is you want to make a goal for yourself, but don't just look at that goal only and think, what do I need to do to get to this goal, and just see it as this far away thing. Like, create milestones for yourself. Like, our first milestone was get a house. What do we need to do to get a house? Like, it wasn't, what do I need to do to get a dozen houses to leave my job? It's, what do I need to do to get the first house, and then the second house, and then from here and here and here. It's like, what milestones do we need to hit? And, you know, I was in sales for 10 years, right? Like, that's what you need to do. Like, with anything that you do, have that goal, write it down, create milestones along the way, and then figure out how you're going to get there together.
One day at a time. I love that.
One day at a time, and it will come way faster than you would think. At 29, you know, we talking numbers, like in you know, debt to equity ratio. It's like, you know, adding up our numbers, you know, and I'm sure this is small time for a lot of people, but for us, like, it was great. Like, I've got $1.3 million in equity on properties that all I've done is just these little repairs to as I bought them and lived in them. You know, we owe 1.2, but we have 1.3, so we own $2.5 million worth of real estate by the time I'm, you know, 30 years old, 29. So like I never thought that would happen, but these things will happen along the way.
For sure. Yeah. Pretty crazy, dude.
Yeah.
And you didn't even really try to pull. I mean, like you said, like what I love about your story so much is you just were trying to get the first deal.
Yep.
Like you didn't have this like grand goal of like I want to be worth 2.5 million.
No.
It just happened.
How do I buy a house?
Right.
I think people just think they can't even buy a house. You tell yourself that something is impossible long enough, that will become your reality.
For sure.
If you tell yourself it is possible long enough, that'll also become your reality. It's like work on something, stop playing, you know, this victim mentality, because I did that. I was there. Like I'm not hating on anybody for, you know, for being upset with people that find the path there, but like figure out how to find it there. You know, it might be different for everybody. It might not be real estate for everybody, but it can be there and it is possible. You just have to figure out how to do it. So I
love that, dude. We'll mic drop right there, bro. I love the advice. I normally ask him like, what's one piece of advice? But you freaking already,
that's it. There you
already did
that's,
it.
That's,
you know?
that's it right there.
Yeah, so, I love that, man. Where can people find you if they want to get a hold of you or work with you in any way, shape, or form?
Yeah, so I don't do a lot with like courses or anything else like that. I offer a one-on-one call, just like a consultation call. If people want to just, you know, connect with me one-on-one through Google Meet call.
Cool.
I have a stand store set up just for social media stuff, but you can book it through there.
Find you on TikTok, would you say? Or
TikTok. TikTok is my main. Instagram, it's the same as that though. Rental cash flow. So hashtag rental cash flow. Matt is my name. You find me through there. TikTok is the main one, but either one, rental cash flow.
You're the man, dude. And I'll put all your links and everything down below too, so everybody can find it. Dude, I really appreciate you being on the show, man.
Yeah.
We'll have to get you back on in a couple of years and see where you're at. You'll have
definitely.
$7.5 million net worth, you know?
There we go. And even more debt. So
one day at a time.
One day at a time.
I love it, bro. Thank you for coming on.
Yeah, thanks, man.
Of course.